Hey guys, Manus701 here with a brand new commentary for you all. This gameplay footage you are watching is from the Titanfall multiplayer campaign on the IMC side. The mission is called Get Barker and takes place on the map Angel City, and it's a battle of attrition, which is basically just team deathmatch. And I did really well in this mission. I finished with 101 attrition points, and I forget how many kills and deaths I had, but you can see it at the end. But today I wanted to talk about the multiplayer campaign, and I also wanted to relate it to Battlefield. In case you didn't know or haven't played Titanfall or don't give a shit about Titanfall, it doesn't have a single player campaign. Instead, Titanfall has a multiplayer campaign. And if you don't know how this multiplayer campaign works, here's how it goes. There's 9 missions in the campaign, and you can play both sides, the IMC or the militia. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, they do add some single player elements to the multiplayer campaign to make it seem like a campaign. They have cutscenes in the beginning of the end. They have voiceovers, and they have little videos playing in the corner. You know, stuff like that, stuff you would see in a single player campaign. But the matches themselves are just like regular Titanfall multiplayer matches. The matches are usually either attrition or a hard point, and it plays just like a regular multiplayer Titanfall match. You get your XP, you get your kills, you increase your KD, you get your unlocks, and you get your final score, just like any other Titanfall multiplayer match. Also, whoever wins the match doesn't affect the outcome of the campaign. The campaign progresses the same on both sides regardless of who wins the match. Now, I know a lot of people were pretty meh about the multiplayer campaign in Titanfall. I, for one, am a big fan of it. Is it perfect? No. I think they could have done a lot of things better, and it had a lot more potential. It could have been a lot cooler, but Respawn has the right idea. If they make a Titanfall 2, I think they should revisit the multiplayer campaign, but expand upon it a little bit. Go in depth into the story a little bit more. They didn't really go into the story or the characters a whole lot in Titanfall. You're not made to have any emotional attachment to the characters. You don't really know a lot about the backstory between Hammond Industries and the militia. You don't really know a whole lot. And they need to go into that a little bit more. I understand why the outcome of the matches don't affect the campaign, because that'd be really difficult to do. How would you do that in the context of multiplayer matches? But I like to see who wins the match have more of an impact on the campaign in some fashion. I like to see that in the next Titanfall. But I do like how you still get all the perks you get during regular multiplayer matches, but you also, in order to unlock the Ogre and the Strider, the other 2 Titans, you have to complete the campaign on both sides. And I was okay with that because of the way it was set up. And this is where I'm going to segue into Battlefield. Most people I know hated, I'm going to use Battlefield 3 and 4 as examples. Most people I know were not fan of the single player campaigns. I, for one, hated I guess hate's too strong a word. I didn't like the campaigns in either 3 or 4. I didn't like 4 even more. And I still don't understand why DICE bothers making a single player campaign in Battlefield 3 or 4. It works in the Bad Company series. I don't think it works at all in 3 and 4. And if you didn't play the older Battlefields like Battlefield 2, there was no single-player campaign at all. It was strictly multiplayer, so they concentrated entirely on the multiplayer. And I think it shows in Battlefield 2. I regard Battlefield 2 as my favorite Battlefield, and it had the best multiplayer of all the Battlefields I have played, in my opinion. And I did not care that it didn't have a single-player campaign. It just didn't matter, because the multiplayer was so good. But back to the Battlefield 4 campaign, the primary reason I did the Battlefield 4 campaign was because there are a bunch of unlocks you had to get, and you can only to use in multiplayer that you can only get by completing that campaign, which I found to be extremely annoying. There was a couple knives you had to unlock by playing the campaign, and there's also 3 different guns that you only got by beating the last mission in the campaign, and you had to beat it 3 different ways. You had 3 choices at the end of the very last mission of that campaign, and depending what you picked, you unlocked the M249 SAW, one of the assault rifles, the QBB-95, I think, and the P90, a PDW. And it was such a pain in the neck. It did not add anything to the game, and it just forced you to play the single player campaign to get multiplayer weapons. So I was thinking about this and how the Respawn did it with the Titanfall multiplayer campaign, and I was wondering, what if the Battlefield series did their campaign like the Titanfall multiplayer campaign? I was thinking about it, and I think it would work really well. I'd like to see them do something like that. Take Battlefield 4, for example, had they done a multiplayer campaign. What if they did a series of missions on the maps that were part of a much larger war with different characters that were soldiers in your army, and you had video cutscenes to start and end each mission, and each map that you played on led right into the next one as part of a larger storyline or war, and you could throw Levolution into it to work in conjunction with the missions. Let's have the U.S. progressing into the Chinese mainland. You start on Parasol Storm, and you change the map a little bit, not to necessarily be straight conquest or straight rush, but maybe a combination of both, where you accomplish certain objectives on the map, and then as you beat that, you progress onto the Chinese mainland, like Siege of Shanghai, and you progress through that map slowly with single-player elements, and for some reason, you might have to take down the skyscraper in the mission. And then you would progress through Shanghai, and then you go to the next Chinese map, like in an armor column or a bunch of transports that you have to get in at the end of Shanghai, and you go to the next map, which could be Lankang Dam, and you arrive there, and you go through that multiplayer mission, capturing flags or blowing objectives up with bombs, like Rush or Obliteration. You'd have the same exact maps like we have now, but you just slightly modify them a little bit. Expand the outer bound lines to just progress into the map from the previous map. Capture a combination of flags, destroy Levolution events like the dam or a communication tower as part of the objective. All the meanwhile with voiceovers and cutscenes and all that sort of thing. And depending on who won the match, things might be a little different in the next match for whatever reason. Maybe you have an extra commander perk or not. Maybe your soldiers have certain unlocks available to them that they wouldn't have normally had you lost the previous match. Who knows? But you would still get your XP, you'd still unlock your weapons, and you still get all the same things you get in a regular Battlefield multiplayer match. Does anyone else think that would be a good idea instead of a straight single player campaign? I think it would be, and I'd like to see it. DICE should take notes from what Respawn did and expand upon that in Battlefield, and I think people would enjoy it a lot more than a straight single-player campaign. So tell me what you think about my idea, guys. Do you think Titanfall's multiplayer campaign would work in the Battlefield series? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below in the video. I'd like to hear what you have to say. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this commentary. If you did, make sure you do like and subscribe and share with all your friends. Make sure you check out my other Battlefield and Titanfall videos. And as always, this is Manus701 reminding all of you to always watch your back, and I'll see you guys later.